A world divided. Capitalism versus communism. The Cold War. A time of tension, a time of fear. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, deadlocked in ideological warfare. At the heart of this conflict lay two opposing systems, capitalism and communism. Capitalism, championed by the United States, emphasized individual freedom. It promoted free markets and private ownership. Individuals could own businesses, strive for profit, and climb the economic ladder. Communism, embraced by the Soviet Union, presented a starkly different vision. It sought to create a classless society. The means of production, such as factories and land, were to be owned collectively. The goal was to eliminate economic inequality and ensure everyone's basic needs were met. This fundamental difference in economic and social organization fueled the rivalry between the two superpowers. The Cold War was not a traditional war. There were no major battles fought directly between the US and the USSR. Disintegrating the enemy country with nuclear warheads was desirable, but being disintegrated back tempered that temptation. America and the Soviet Union still desired war, so proxy wars became the outlet. The Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and the Afghan-Soviet War all count as proxy wars. American veterans from the Vietnam War noticed that the higher-ups did all in their power to stretch out the conflict. Their orders to engage the enemy or sit around camp fluctuated with the mood of the sky and the density of the vegetation. Fighting in the name of capitalism and communism was a joint PR campaign. Hegemony was the holy grail of profit. But the institutions of capitalism and communism, nonetheless, chiseled the body of their respective nation. So what is their center? The Soviet Union, risen from the ashes of the Russian Revolution, adopted communism as its guiding principle. The Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, sought to dismantle the Tsarist autocracy and establish a more equitable society. They believed capitalism was inherently exploitative, creating a system where the wealthy few profited from the labor of the many. Communism, in their eyes, offered a solution. Abolishing private property and evenly distributing wealth vanquishes inequality. So goes the theme of communism. But authentic communalism was a dream that the so-called communists never worked into creation. History's record of communism might be better conceptualized as proto-communism, the steps taken toward communism. Humans unchecked may be geared and engined for exploitation because the proto-communism that came to be was really aristocracy with a paint job. Marx championed collective ownership of the means of production, but in practice, the state was responsible for ensuring everyone had access to essential goods and services. Thus, the state controlled the people's property. This centralized control cast its net over the producers. Of course, not every producer was a farmer or a factory worker. Scientists and diplomats saw the truest vision of communism, or maybe its posh promises, but their enjoyment of their compulsory labor was a byproduct. Individual freedoms were often suppressed in the name of collective good. The Soviet government exerted tight control over the economy, setting production quotas and dictating prices. Dissent was intolerable. Defection from the communist spirit or slow production value was tantamount to treason, and treason was punishable by death. The Soviet Union's experience with communism commingled social progress and repression. Communism is a beautiful dream, but men cannot be trusted to care for their fellows in a society of millions. The United States, on the other hand, emerged from the Second World War as a champion of capitalism. Its economic system, built on principles of free enterprise and individual initiative, propelled its rise to global preeminence. Americans believed in the power of the free market to generate wealth and improve living standards. They saw capitalism as a system that rewarded hard work, innovation, and risk-taking. individual liberty and limited government intervention fueled America's economic engine. The government's role was to ensure a level playing field, enforce contracts, and protect private property rights. It has not quite crafted a network that mirrors its blueprint. The dead Americans in Vietnam saw that capitalism runs parallel to communist state ownership of men. But war is not forever. Writ large, America is Capitalism 101, and her students are free to study as hard as they please and chase the horizon, and she will grade them fairly. In the decades following World War II, the United States experienced unprecedented economic growth. Prosperity, mass production, technological advancements, and a growing consumer culture solidified America's belief in the superiority of capitalism. But remember well, envy is watered by the high-flying clouds upon which ride those who behold capitalism's truest vision. Money is finite, and for all the success stories, there are depressing stories. Today, DEI policies and taxation snip the heartstrings of capitalism, infusing it with the colour of communism. Humans may be geared an engine to pity those they judge to be exploited, and capitalism's encouragement of inequality is a sour glass of water for many to swallow. Freedom can bring you lower than it raises you, so the onus for the orientation of your own life is yours and not the state's.